There she stood, radiant and humble, accepting the biggest prize of her career. The winner is Julie Andrews. Marry with Grace. She clutched the Oscar, smiled, and thanked the world. It looked like the perfect Hollywood fairy tale. But what no one knew was that Julie was harboring a secret so profound, it lingered in the shadows of her success for 6 long decades. A secret born not on the red carpet, but behind closed hotel doors during the golden age of cinema. It all started in 1965, on a film set brimming with energy and temptation. Julie was already married. So was he. But the on-screen connection between them was electric. So electric that it bled off-screen, turning into whispers, then rumors, then a very real threat to their careers. Studio executives caught wind of their off-hours rendezvous and didn't hesitate. Ultimatums were handed down, reputations dangled by a thread. Julie chose silence, for years. But now, the woman known to the world as Maria from The Sound of Music is finally peeling back the curtain on a chapter that nearly cost her everything. Long before she became Hollywood royalty, Julie's story began in the quiet town of Walton-on-Thames, England, in 1935. But even as a newborn, her life was already marked by secrets. Her mother, Barbara, had stepped outside her marriage, and Julie was the product of that choice. For the first 15 years of her life, Julie believed a man who wasn't her biological father raised her. The truth was a bombshell, one she wouldn't even share publicly until decades later in her autobiography. As the world slipped into the chaos of war, Julie's home life fractured. Her parents divorced and found new partners. Julie found herself shuffled between homes, sometimes with her real father, sometimes with her mother and her new husband, Ted Andrews. Life under Ted's roof was unstable. He drank, he crossed lines, and young Julie had to install a lock on her bedroom door to protect herself. They lived in poverty, rationing food and warmth in a gray, battered London. Those early years, she later confessed, left scars she carried for life. Yet amid the turbulence, there was one gift that emerged: her voice. A shimmering, pure sound that defied her surroundings. Even Ted, for all his faults, noticed it and arranged singing lessons. That's when Julie met Madame Lillian Stiles Allen, a formidable vocal coach who quickly became a maternal figure. Madame heard something extraordinary in Julie's range, soaring, crystal-clear notes that stunned even seasoned musicians. Julie, ever modest, joked her highest notes were only for dogs, but she trained relentlessly, juggling school and rehearsals with a sense of duty far beyond her years. Her earliest performances were humble, just a girl on a beer crate beside her mother at the piano. But soon she was traveling across Britain, singing for soldiers, sometimes curling up to sleep in train luggage racks next to fellow child performer Petula Clark. She was only 12 when her big break came. Her stepfather introduced her to a man who booked major London venues, and he gave her a shot. At the London Hippodrome, she performed a challenging operatic piece, nerves and all, and brought the house down. That one show turned into a year-long engagement. By 13, she'd made history. The youngest soloist ever to perform at the Royal Variety Show, right in front of the King and Queen. From there, it was a sprint. Radio, television, pantomimes. Her fan base swelled, but she stayed grounded. Her first film wasn't exactly a Hollywood blockbuster. It was an Italian animated feature, The Singing Princess, where she provided the voice. But it was a step towards something massive. At 19, she crossed the Atlantic to debut on Broadway in The Boyfriend. Leaving her family behind was terrifying. She was their main breadwinner, and America was an unknown. But her father's encouragement pushed her forward. The gamble paid off. Audiences were dazzled by her voice and charm. Critics raved. And 2 legendary producers sitting in the crowd, Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Loewe, knew they'd just found their Eliza Doolittle. By 20, she was no longer just a performer. She was a phenomenon. Disney saw her magic firsthand and instantly knew she was his Mary Poppins. But just before that dream role, heartbreak hit. Warner Brothers was making My Fair Lady into a film and snubbed Julie for Audrey Hepburn. She was crushed. Hepburn couldn't sing the role. Julie had originated it. But the rejection became her launch pad. Disney approached her that same night, and when she told him she was pregnant, he smiled and simply said, "We'll wait." He did. And it changed everything. Julie's big screen debut in Mary Poppins was a global sensation. The film was a hit. She was 30, a fresh face in cinema, and yet she won the world over. When she won the Academy Award for Best Actress, she didn't forget the man who turned her down. She thanked Jack Warner with a gleam in her eye. And the best part? Mary Poppins made more money than My Fair Lady. Hollywood finally understood who Julie Andrews really was, and she was just getting started. When The Sound of Music lit up movie screens in 1965, it didn't just charm audiences, it redefined Hollywood's success. With Julie Andrews spinning atop that iconic mountain, the film soared past $286 million worldwide. And just like that, she was etched into pop culture as everyone's favorite singing governess. But what the cameras didn't catch was the chaos behind that perfect opening shot. A helicopter hovered dangerously close, its blades blasting enough wind to knock her flat after every take. Julie once laughed about it, saying she got slammed into the grass more times than she could count. But all the bruises were worth it. 5 Academy Awards later, including Best Picture, Julie Andrews was officially Hollywood's sweetheart. Yet being beloved came with its own chains. After 2 back-to-back nanny roles, whispers started swirling. Could she only sing? Could she only smile? Julie felt it too, and she wanted out of the box. In a quiet act of rebellion, she signed on for The Americanization of Emily, filmed even before The Sound of Music hit theaters. A black-and-white World War II drama where she played a widow opposite James Garner. It was her first step into deeper water. No singing, no sugarcoating. Just raw, honest acting. And she nailed it. Then came Torn Curtain in 1966. Alfred Hitchcock, Paul Newman, Cold War tension. It had all the ingredients of a masterpiece. But behind the scenes, Hitchcock wasn't pleased. He thought Julie and Paul were too clean, too shiny. Critics were split, but the box office showed up. The movie grossed over $13 million on a $3 million budget. Still, for Julie, it was another reminder. Chasing reinvention meant risking uneven ground. And she kept taking risks. Later that same year, she tackled Hawaii, a sweeping historical epic that tested both her stamina and spirit. With the biggest budget in Hollywood at the time, $15 million, the shoot battled tropical storms and tidal wave warnings. Julie played Jerusha, a stubborn woman torn between faith and independence. Her performance was strong, but the scene stealer was Joseline Lagarde, a first-time actress who earned a Golden Globe and all the spotlight. Julie watched the narrative shift in real time, and it stung. By the end of the 1960s, the shine began to fade. In 1968, she starred in Star, a lavish musical biopic about actress Gertrude Lawrence. Directed by the same man behind The Sound of Music, it should have been another classic. Instead, it crashed hard. Variety panned her performance as overdone, and the film became one of the decade's biggest flops. Still, Julie kept going. Then came Darling Lily in 1970, directed by her new husband Blake Edwards. It was meant to shatter her wholesome image. She swore. She seduced. She changed her tone completely. But audiences didn't buy it. The film cost $25 million and failed to recoup it. She starred in 10, a modern romantic comedy about love, obsession, and aging. It was a hit, grossing over $74 million. Julie was back. She followed it up in 1981 with S.O.B., a dark satire where she shocked audiences by shedding the last traces of her wholesome persona. It wasn't just for headlines, it was strategic. She was burning the past and stepping into the future. But it was 1982's Victoria that truly turned the tide. In it, she played a broke singer pretending to be a man who pretends to be a woman to land work in a nightclub. Layered, witty, and socially daring, the role showcased Julie at her boldest. The film earned her another Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination. With that, she was no longer just Maria or Mary Poppins. She was a woman who could redefine herself, over and over. While her career fluctuated, her personal life followed its own winding path. Julie married set designer Tony Walton in 1959. Their love story had childhood roots. He saw her perform when they were just kids, and their friendship blossomed into marriage. By 1962, they welcomed their daughter Emma, but fame pulled them in opposite directions. Broadway nights turned into international film shoots. Julie later admitted she felt torn between her husband, her child, and her own ambition. The weight of it all slowly cracked the foundation. By 1969, they divorced. Julie was devastated. Quietly, she began seeing a therapist, nudged by director Mike Nichols, who saw the emotional toll she was carrying. That decision would transform her inner world. For the first time, she unpacked years of pressure, loneliness, and sacrifice. She called it cleaning the clutter in her mind. It gave her strength to move forward. And fate, with impeccable timing, intervened again. Just outside her therapist's office, she ran into Blake Edwards. The moment felt scripted, but it was real. Both were hurting, both healing, and something between them just clicked. By that same year, they married. Julie became a stepmother to his children, and later, they adopted 2 daughters from Vietnam, Amy and Joanna. Their life blended movie sets with bedtime stories, red carpets with quiet dinners. For 41 years, they were each other's balance, his sharp wit grounding her grace. Before Blake, though, there had been one deeply emotional chapter most never knew. Back in 1960, while starring in Camelot on Broadway, Julie worked opposite Richard Burton. On stage, the chemistry was undeniable. Off stage, things got complicated. Her marriage to Tony was already fraying. Burton's charisma was magnetic. Julie would later confess she felt alone back then, misunderstood, overwhelmed, and aching for connection. In 1990, she returned to the stage in Julie Andrews in concert. And in 1993, her off-Broadway comeback in Putting It Together marked a quiet resurgence. Then came Victoria, a bold Broadway role, a revival of her 1982 film. The show ran for over 700 performances. When the Tonys nominated only her and ignored the rest of the cast, Julie did the unthinkable. She declined the nomination. It was a stunning moment in theater history. But Julie wasn't seeking glory. She wanted fairness. That decision? It cemented her legacy, not just as an artist, but as a leader. Hollywood wasn't done with her. In 2001, she returned to Disney with The Princess Diaries. No audition needed. Gary Marshall knew she was royalty, on screen and off. As Queen Clarice, she exuded elegance, mentoring Anne Hathaway not just in character, but in spirit. The movie made over $165 million, and its sequel gave audiences a gift they never expected. Julie sang again. Just one note, but it echoed like a miracle. She voiced Queen Lillian in Shrek 2 in 2004, and continued through 2 more sequels. In Enchanted, her narration bridged fantasy and modern-day magic. And in Tooth Fairy, 2010, she brought a mischievous charm that only she could pull off. Whether regal or whimsical, her screen presence remained magnetic. But the blow she never saw coming arrived in 1997. A routine vocal cord surgery, one she hoped would restore her voice, backfired catastrophically. The scar tissue robbed her of the 4-octave soprano that had enchanted millions. Even speaking became painful. The devastation ran deep. She later said losing her voice felt like losing a limb. Her fight wasn't over. She filed a malpractice suit. In 2000, it was settled privately, but no court ruling could undo the damage. Over the next few years, she endured more surgeries, seeking any sliver of recovery. Her singing voice, however, was gone. And yet, she never disappeared. She transformed. She became an advocate for vocal health. She backed scientific research at MIT and Harvard Medical School, hoping others might one day find a cure where she hadn't. She didn't wallow. She created. With her daughter, she co-wrote over 30 children's books. And in 2017, she returned to screen with Julie's Green Room on Netflix, introducing kids to the magic of theater. It earned Emmy nominations and reminded the world that Julie Andrews was still a force of nature. Despite tragedy, Julie's financial empire remained unshaken. Her wealth, estimated north of $30 million, reflects careful planning and classic Hollywood savvy. She's owned properties in London, Los Angeles, and Switzerland, each tastefully secluded and luxuriously designed. Her car collection has included a vintage Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, a Bentley Continental GT, and even a hybrid Lexus for her more eco-conscious years. Known for her timeless style, she's been spotted wearing Cartier and Patek Philippe watches, symbolizing quiet prestige. She and Blake Edwards invested in art, real estate, and boutique productions. Insurance policies protected her voice, health, and assets long before her surgery. An insight into her understanding of career fragility. The real lesson: don't wait for disaster. Insure your craft, diversify your earnings, and always prepare for reinvention. Julie's journey is a masterclass in resilience. She transitioned from singer to icon, from heartbreak to legacy, from silence to storytelling. She proved that even when the song ends, the story can still move the world. From teenage rebel to Hollywood icon, James Cagney danced, fought, and defied every rule. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Because next time, the spotlight's burning even brighter. You dirty rat! He changed the game.